Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another edition of The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a feeling that, well, let's be real, almost all of us have felt at some point. You know that deeply frustrating sensation of working incredibly hard, putting in just endless hours, but feeling like you're literally running on a treadmill. You're sweating, you're exhausted, but the scenery around you, it just doesn't change. Well, today's Explainer is going to show you exactly why that happens and, more importantly, how to fix it using a concept called the rule of 1 degree. So let's just dive right into it.
I want to start things off by asking you a deeply personal question directly from our source material today. Are you walking in circles? Think about it. Have you ever had that kind of hollow feeling where you're giving absolutely 100% of your effort every single day, yet somehow you end up in the exact same place you were a year ago? It's incredibly demoralizing, right? To feel like you're running this relentless race while everyone else seems to just effortlessly glide toward the horizon. Take a quick second to really let that sink in.
Now, notice this really fascinating contrast here. 100% effort versus 0% forward movement. We so often equate a lack of progress with a lack of effort, or, just plain laziness. But the source makes a really powerful point to validate that frustration you're feeling. If you're stuck, you probably aren't failing because you're lazy. Actually, it's because your internal compass is just off by a tiny, tiny margin. You're doing the hard work, but your trajectory, it's just slightly skewed.
Okay, Section 1, Meet Elias, the map to nowhere. To really wrap our heads around this theory, we're going to ground it in a human story from our source about a 29-year-old surveyor.
Let's look a little closer at Elias's daily reality. And think about the irony of this, okay? He's a man who literally spends his entire day meticulously measuring the earth, yet he can't measure the progress of his own life. He's pulling these grueling 12-hour workdays, he's got a constant backache from all the labor, he's deeply responsible sending money home to his mother, which basically leaves him with almost nothing for himself. And the result of all of this? Zero personal progress. Elias did his duty. He absolutely wasn't lazy. He was working incredibly hard, but he was working hard inside a life that was going absolutely nowhere. He was totally stuck in that cycle of total effort and zero forward movement.
But then, a pivotal moment happens. One evening, Elias crosses paths with an old cartographer named Samuel. Samuel takes one look at Elias's tired eyes and instantly, recognizes the exhaustion of a man walking in circles. Samuel offers Elias a piece of wisdom, a completely life-changing perspective that just shifts everything for him.
Samuel looks at him and says, Elias, if a plane leaves London for New York and its nose is off by just 1 degree, it doesn't end up in a different airport, it ends up in a different country. Just think about the visual of that for a second. The plane takes off, it feels like it's heading in the exact right direction. And honestly, for the first few miles, you wouldn't even notice the error. But over thousands of miles, that microscopic trajectory change completely compounds. The crucial point here is that small misalignments over long periods of time will entirely change your destination.
And that brings us to the core concept of our explainer today. Here is the formal definition of the rule of 1 degree. It's a microscopic adjustment in direction maintained with stubborn consistency rather than a massive explosion of effort. Read that again. You do not need a massive explosion to change your life. You really don't need to suddenly work 20 hours a day or just reinvent your entire existence overnight. You just need to tweak your heading by literally 1 degree and then stubbornly stick to that new path.
Moving on to Section 2, your daily calibration, 2 steps forward. Now, understanding the theory is great and all, but how do we actually apply this? Well, the source gives us a highly actionable, super realistic framework.
The process is incredibly simple. It's designed to happen before the rest of the world wakes up and starts making demands on your time and your energy. It's broken down into Step 1, which is the morning calibration, and Step 2, the 30-minute pivot. Let's break these down to see exactly how they reset that internal compass of yours.
So, Step 1 is the morning calibration. The source warns that most people wake up and immediately, right out of bed, program their minds with the wrong code. You open your eyes and instantly start thinking about your debts, your demanding boss, or your past failures. Doing that is setting your plane 1 degree in the wrong direction right out of the gate. Instead, the strategy here is to actually stand in front of your mirror and explicitly affirm your heading by saying 3 simple words: I am capable. Now, the author notes that it might feel a little bit like a lie at first, but your mind is a loyal tool. Eventually, it starts to believe the instructions you repeatedly give it.
Which leads us to Step 2, defined by a single critical number: 30. This is the 30-minute pivot. Remember, the rule of 1 degree says we do not need massive explosions of effort. You don't need 5 hours a day to completely change your life. You literally just need 30 minutes. 30 minutes of focused skill building on something the world actually needs. Maybe that's coding, maybe it's accounting, or, graphic design. The key here is that for the next 90 days, you touch that project for exactly 30 minutes every single day.
All right, Section 3, Surviving the Wilderness. I want to pause right here for some really crucial expectation management. There's a lot of toxic positivity and motivational content out there promising overnight success. But this explainer, we're going to be completely honest with you about the incoming struggle. The author refers to the phase immediately following your decision to change as the wilderness. This timeline brilliantly maps out the reality of that wilderness period. Week 1, it's going to feel like pain. By week 6, it's going to be boring and just deeply frustrating. And honestly, this is exactly the point where most people quit, because they mistakenly believe that a lack of excitement means a lack of progress. But think back to the airplane analogy. That 1-degree shift is completely invisible at the start. You're not going to see the new country on day 10 or day 20. But if you hold on, by day 90, the distance between your old life and your new one is going to be absolutely massive. To actually survive that wilderness, you need to understand an absolutely crucial difference: motivation versus commitment. Motivation is just a fading feeling. It's great when it's there, sure, but it will vanish the second you hit week 6 and things get boring. Commitment, however, is a stubborn decision that stays. Going back to our guy Elias, he didn't become a master overnight. He started his 30 minutes of learning on an old, cracked phone during his lunch breaks. He faced rejection, he faced the incredibly heavy pull of his old habits, but he relied on commitment, not motivation, to keep that promise to himself.
Which brings us to Section 4, the first hour wins. The ultimate point we're really driving at today is that ultimate success isn't some final, magical destination. It is the daily, consistent practice of winning the very first hour of your day. If you can conquer that first hour, you set your 1-degree trajectory for the rest of your entire life.
So, to summarize everything we've unpacked, the source offers an immediate, physical challenge for you to take tonight. First, put your phone across the room so you physically have to stand up to turn off your alarm. Second, set that alarm for 5 a.m. or, just 1 hour earlier than your usual wake-up time. And third, use that extra hour to move, reflect, and grow. Don't wait until you feel ready, because spoiler alert, you will never feel completely ready. Start in your cramped room. Start with your old phone. Just start today. And that brings us to our final thought. If you're ready to stop walking in circles and finally adjust your compass, hit that like button right now as your personal commitment to this 90-day journey. Then, I want you to drop a comment below and answer this question for us. What is the one skill you are going to spend 30 minutes on tomorrow morning? Make the commitment public, start your 1-degree shift, and let's get